Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Today, we gather to reflect on the extraordinary life of a man who walked the path of truth, faced immense trials, and ultimately found guidance in Islam, Al-Hajj Malik el-Shabazz, whom the world remembers as Malcolm X. His journey from hardship to enlightenment was not merely personal, it was a testament to the transformative power of faith, justice, and unwavering commitment to truth. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. Indeed, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Surah Ar-Ra'd 13 Ayah 11. And in the life of Malcolm X, we witness the embodiment of this divine truth, a man who changed himself and changed the world through his conviction and pursuit of justice. The power of Malcolm X's transformation. Malcolm X was a man of many names: Malcolm Little, Detroit Red, Al-Hajj Malik el-Shabazz, each representing a radical evolution in his life. But why does his religious transformation matter more than his politics or activism? Because it was his spiritual awakening that reshaped everything: his view of race, justice, and even his own death. Most know him as the fiery Nation of Islam minister who called white people devils. But few understand the man he became after leaving the NOI, a Sunni Muslim who embraced racial unity, global solidarity, and a vision of justice rooted in Islamic principles. This series will uncover how prison, betrayal, and a pilgrimage to Mecca shattered his old beliefs, why his final year was his most dangerous and revolutionary, how his assassination may have involved the FBI, the Nation of Islam, or both. By the end, you'll see Malcolm X not just as a civil rights icon, but as one of history's most profound examples of personal redemption. Let's begin where his story truly starts, not with his birth, but with his breaking. Early life struggles. The roots of a revolutionary. Malcolm Little was born in Omaha, Nebraska, in 1925, the fourth of 7 children. His father, Earl Little, was a Baptist preacher and follower of Marcus Garvey, the black nationalist who preached Africa for Africans. This early exposure to black pride was crucial, but so was the terror that followed, a childhood under siege. When Malcolm was 4, the Ku Klux Klan surrounded his family's home, shattering windows with rifle butts, forcing them to flee to Michigan. But racism followed. In 1931, when Malcolm was 6, his father's body was found mangled on train tracks, officially ruled an accident, but the family knew it was murder. Psychological warfare. His mother, Louise, struggled to hold the family together under welfare surveillance. When she resisted state interference, she was declared mentally unfit and institutionalized. The children were split into foster homes, a deliberate tactic to erase black family structures. The making of Detroit Red. Malcolm, now a street-smart teen, moved to Boston and then Harlem, diving into hustling, drugs, and burglary. But this wasn't just crime, it was rebellion. As he later said, "I was a zombie then. Poisoned by self-hate, that poison would only be cured in prison, through Islam." Prison first encounter with Islam. The birth of Malcolm X. In 1946, 21-year-old Malcolm was sentenced to 10 years for burglary. Angry and illiterate, he initially resisted prison rules, until a fellow inmate told him, "You're the only man here who doesn't read." The self-education revolution. Malcolm copied the entire dictionary word for word, then devoured history, philosophy, and religion. He read about slavery, colonialism, and black resistance, realizing his criminal life was just another form of oppression. The Nation of Islam's influence. Letters from his brother Reginald introduced him to the Nation of Islam, NOI, a black separatist movement led by Elijah Muhammad. The NOI taught that whites were blue-eyed devils created by an evil scientist, black people were the original humans, destined to reclaim their glory. For Malcolm, this was a divine revelation. He quit smoking, gambling, and eating pork, embracing discipline for the first time. The birth of a Malcolm X. The X symbolized his lost African name, erased by slavery. In 1952, he left prison a new man, ready to recruit for the NOI with a zeal that would soon shake America. Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad, rise of a firebrand preacher. by the mid-1950s, Malcolm X was the NOI's most feared and revered minister. His hypnotic speeches and uncompromising rhetoric brought thousands into the movement, including a young Muhammad Ali. Why the NOI resonated: Elijah Muhammad's teachings gave Black Americans pride in a racist society. The NOI's economic independence, businesses, farms, was revolutionary. Malcolm's message, by any means necessary, a direct challenge to MLK's nonviolence. The rejection of Christianity: Malcolm mocked Black Christians. The white man gave you his religion, then lynched you. With it, he saw Christianity as a tool of slavery. Citing how slave masters used the Bible to justify brutality, the FBI takes notice. J. Edgar Hoover saw Malcolm as the greatest threat to racial order. The FBI bugged his phones, infiltrated temples, and even sent fake letters to turn NOI leaders against him. But Malcolm's biggest threat wasn't the FBI, it was the truth about Elijah Muhammad. Disillusionment with NOI, the betrayal that changed everything. By 1963, Malcolm discovered Elijah Muhammad had fathered children with 6 teenage NOI secretaries, a direct violation of NOI doctrine. When he confronted Muhammad, he was silenced and isolated. The breaking point: after JFK's assassination, Malcolm called it "chickens coming home to roost," a comment that got him suspended by the NOI. He realized, "I was a zombie. Programmed to obey." The final split: in March 1964, Malcolm publicly left the NOI, forming his own group, Muslim Mosque Incorporated. But he was now a marked man. NOI members were ordered to do whatever to silence him. Little did he know, his real spiritual awakening was just months away, in the sands of Mecca. Pilgrimage to Mecca, Hajj, the spiritual earthquake. In April 1964, Malcolm X landed in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, a man still wrestling with doubt. The NOI had taught him that all white people were devils, but in Mecca, he witnessed something that shattered that belief forever. The first shock: brotherhood in the holy city. As he performed tawaf, circling the Kaaba, he saw Muslims of all races, white, black, Arab, Asian, praying side by side. In his diary, he wrote, "There were tens of thousands of pilgrims from all over the world. They were of all colors, from blue-eyed blondes to black-skinned Africans. But we were all participating in the same ritual, displaying a spirit of unity and brotherhood." The life-changing letter. From Mecca, he wrote a transformative letter to his assistants in Harlem: "America needs to understand Islam, because this is the one religion that erases the race problem. I have never before seen sincere and true brotherhood practiced by all colors together." The death of Malcolm X. He ended the letter by signing it El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, his new Sunni Muslim name. The man who returned to America was no longer the NOI's fiery separatist. He was now a global thinker, and a marked man. The shift in his beliefs, from separatism to universal justice. After Mecca, Malcolm's speeches took a radical turn, not in violence, but in vision. He no longer spoke of white devils. Instead, he called for human rights, not civil rights, the ballot or the bullet. Revisited, in his famous April 1964 speech, he still advocated self-defense but now framed oppression as a global struggle. It's impossible for a white man to believe in capitalism and not believe in racism. He linked Black America's fight to anti-colonial movements in Africa and Asia, urging solidarity with Che Guevara, Fidel Castro, and African revolutionaries. The FBI's panic. J. Edgar Hoover's COINTELPRO intensified surveillance. Fearing Malcolm's new alliances with Muslim leaders abroad. A declassified memo read, "Malcolm X could become a messianic figure uniting black nationalism and pan-Islam." The NOI's final warning. Elijah Muhammad's newspaper, Muhammad Speaks, declared, "Malcolm is worthy of death." The countdown to February 21, 1965, had begun. Embracing Sunni Islam, a new name, a new mission, Malcolm didn't just leave the NOI, he reinvented himself under Sunni Islam, studying under scholars in Egypt, Lebanon, and Nigeria. Why Sunni Islam? The NOI's racial theology conflicted with mainstream Islam's universal teachings. He now believed true Islam promoted equality, not division. The name, El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, El-Hajj, marked him as a Mecca pilgrim, Malik meant king, and Shabazz honored his African lineage. This wasn't just a name change, it was a rebirth. Building global bridges, he met with Egypt's President Nasser, Ghana's Kwame Nkrumah, and Palestinian leaders, framing Black America's struggle as part of a worldwide anti-colonial movement. Islam's message of brotherhood, the final teachings. Malcolm's last year was a whirlwind of spiritual and political awakening. His new message? The enemy isn't white people, it's exploitation. The OAU, Organization of Afro-American Unity, modeled after the African Union, this secular group sought UN intervention for Black Americans, calling racism a crime against humanity. The Oxford Debate, December 1964, at Oxford University, he debated British intellectuals, arguing, "I am for violence if non-violence means we continue postponing a solution to the American black man's problem." But now, his violence was strategic, not racial. The final warning. In January 1965, he told a reporter, "I'm a marked man. It doesn't frighten me for myself, but for my wife and children." His new vision for America, from revolution to reconciliation. Malcolm's final vision wasn't about black separatism, it was about restructuring America itself, the land of the free. In a 1965 interview, he said, "If you stick a knife in my back 9 inches and pull it out 6, that's not progress. Racism is a system." The call for international pressure. He urged African nations to sanction the U.S. for racism, just as they did South Africa for apartheid. The FBI's final move. A week before his death, his home was firebombed. COINTELPRO documents later revealed FBI informants inside his inner circle. Challenges after his conversion. A man alone. After leaving the NOI, Malcolm was isolated, hunted, and broke. NOI death squads, former friends now stalked him, including NOI enforcer Louis X, later Farrakhan, who wrote, "Malcolm is worthy of death. And such a man as this is doomed." Financial struggles. The NOI cut off his salary, and the FBI pressured hotels to cancel his events. The last interview, February 18, 1965, 3 days before his murder, he told Gordon Parks, "The thing I fear most is internal betrayal." Final speeches. Legacy. Prophecies of his own death. Malcolm's last speeches were eerily prophetic. February 14, 1965, "It's time for martyrs. If I die, it'll be for a cause. I've lived as a warrior, and I'll die as one." February 19, 1965, the Audubon Ballroom, his final words before gunfire erupted, "We declare our right to be respected as human beings." Assassination aftermath. Who really killed Malcolm X? February 21, 1965. Audubon Ballroom, Harlem. 3 gunmen. 21 shots. Malcolm, 39 years old, fell with 16 bullets in his chest. His wife, Betty, rushed to the stage, screaming, "They're killing my husband." The cover-up. 3 NOI members were convicted, but new evidence, 2021 Netflix doc, suggests FBI involvement. Witnesses disappeared, and files remain classified. The funeral. 15,000 mourners came. Actor Ossie Davis eulogized him, "Malcolm was our manhood, our living black prince." How Islam shaped his legacy. From radical to revolutionary, Malcolm's Islamic transformation redefined black activism, influence on movements. Black Panthers adopted his "by any means necessary" ethos. Hip-hop artists, Tupac, Kendrick Lamar, quote him as the prophet of resistance. The global Malcolm. From South Africa to Palestine, oppressed groups see him as a martyr of truth. Conclusion. Reflection. The unfinished journey. Malcolm X wasn't just a man, he was a metamorphosis. From hustler to heretic, separatist to universalist, his journey proves truth is worth dying for. His final lesson? Power never takes a step back, except in the face of more power. So ask yourself, what truth are you afraid to confront? And what would you sacrifice to evolve? If this series moved you, share it. Because Malcolm's story isn't history, it's a mirror.